It was on 10 by 14, right?
Yep. Bitch.
How was that paper? Why would I do Unbelievable.
Hello, hey everybody. Hey Tony, I can't hear anything.
How's it going,
Got it?
everyone? Welcome, welcome. Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
All right, let me,
Hey everybody.
how's it going, all? I think we have this. Hold on one second. Why do we have our names like.
I was wondering why that like
Hold
that.
on. Yeah, that's.
You wrapped it. So while Tony's describing that, I'm going to talk about this episode a little bit. This is that weird episode where we both paint, and I'm also getting an echo, by the way, Tony.
Yeah. It'll go off right now. How's that?
Much better. So
There
yeah,
you
this
go.
is the episode
I got you.
where we discuss peer reviews. So the entire time I'm going to be commenting on Tony's, and he's going to be commenting on mine.
Yes.
Not like we did that anyhow. Aside from that, it's also we're going to be painting something from Stranger Things, and the funny story about this is we were in South Africa.
It starts in
and
another country far, far away.
far away. Yeah, there was the actor who played Vecna that was also at the convention that we were at, and he was kind enough to sign some paper for us.
Yeah,
that we could
Jamie Campbell Bauer.
Yes,
Shout out to Jamie Campbell Bauer, by the way.
a huge thank you. So we got the opportunity kind of quickly, and somebody was like, "Yeah, just give me the paper, and he'll sign he'll sign for you guys." And I didn't have anything but watercolor paper, which, if you know watercolor paper, it looks like
It comes in a big
this.
block.
It comes in a giant block that looks like this. So it's huge, it's thick, but it has a slit in it, just like that. and you actually can cut the pages off.
What, one page at a time, but it's meant to
One
like
page at a time,
keep
as
your
you
watercolors flat, right?
Right. It keeps the paper from buckling. So we gave him a block thinking he would just sign one sheet. What happened was
He ripped
took
them all
every
apart.
page off and signed every single sheet of paper in the stack. So, we went through like $56 in paper,
Yeah.
but they all have his signature at the bottom. So expect a lot of Stranger Things pieces in the near future.
Yeah. This was it was pretty crazy. We both got we both received it back at the end of the day from the host. He's like, yeah, so, and we got them both separately. So he gave it to Dan and then he gave it to me, and then we're both like, oh my god, and we both kind of lean over towards each other and just like, did you? And he's like, yeah. Did you? And we're like, yeah.
It was kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
There's definitely that moment of like, oh my god, that's a lot of paper.
So we're gonna try to use up some paper that has his signature on it, and see what we could do. I've watched Stranger Things season 4. I don't know if you have, Dan.
Oh, I have.
You have? Okay, cool.
100%. Yeah, I'm more impressed that you have.
Trying to think
So
of
what
like,
are you going to be drawing?
I mean, because it has his signature on it, autograph on it, like it has to include Vecna in some way.
Oh, he's got to be.
Right? He's and potentially like a major. The thinking of it is whether or not to be only him,
Yeah.
right? Or whether there's something else happening in the background. So I think I want to have like something in the background, but it'll be just him. Like we have a few of these, so maybe in another one I'll have a little more time to like do one of the other characters with him, right? From the show. But I think this one is just for the sake of the stream and stuff like that, just trying to
I'm going to do Eddie Munson.
oh, you
Jam
are
it up.
gonna do.
I am. I'm going to do the hardcore rocking out Eddie Munson with, crazy lightning in the background and Vecna's face looming over.
Oh, okay. I see. Very, very movie poster. I was thinking almost the exact opposite. I was going to leave Vecna in the foreground, kind of looking over his shoulder, and then leaving some space, maybe for later on, like doing something in like I could put in the house, or I could put in some silhouette, or what's the girl's name that goes into that very defined, like floats in the air, and she has the headphones on.
I know.
Yeah, she's like the redhead with the Walkman.
The sister.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe figure that out for like a backdrop, but I think just focusing on having him be on the foreground versus you putting him in the background. So immediately off the bat, you're already like two different takes.
I like it. So yeah, this episode we were going to talk a little bit about peer reviews and their importance. I always talk about how the people that I like to surround myself with in terms of artists that I hang out with are people that I always say surround yourself with people that you admire. In other words, if you just totally dig their work, hang out with them, spend time with them if you can, like see what you can kind of glean from them, because they'll help you grow. And it's definitely one of those things that in both professionally and I guess personally too,
Yeah, no. That I'm a big proponent of that too, and it's easier to say and harder to do sometimes, right? Because
no, it's true. Sure.
Because finding someone with the same sort of passion or thought, or even medium, helps out, right? Like
Medium's a big one. Yeah.
our relationship definitely was was easier to kick off because we
Started
could-
off rocky.
yeah, it started off very rocky, of course, but like but we had the same. But we're both watercolorists, and we there was a connection there that made it a little bit easier,
Oh yeah, totally.
versus if I was just traditional comic book pen and ink kind of a person, been like, oh, okay, cool, but yeah, that was always my challenge. I having maintaining like creative friends, all of my what I consider like people that all my friends in the industry live so far away.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that's the older you get, you're gonna see more of that. I don't know. I feel like the my funny enough, a lot of my friends from up north are now moving down here. Like I have, I have a friend that's coming into town, Brian, who you know, guy I went to school with for many years, and definitely helped shape me creatively. I mean, we were in the same major together. We both had the same degree. Took it in totally different directions, but
yeah.
he's still one of the creative people I've ever met in my life. Yeah. He's him and his wife are heading down, and we're going to look at housing areas and things like that.
Did I meet them at all?
Yeah,
In,
yeah.
it was
Brian and Christina. Yep.
oh, okay. So they're the ones in New Orleans.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
So yeah, they're heading down. They're gonna check out houses and whatnot. We had dinner with one of the group of their friends, a husband and wife that they know, from Fort Myers, and they were like, yeah, they're really excited about like possibly moving here. And, hey, Kat.
That's a dog.
Understand that. I keep singing the song, or like in my head. Do
Yeah.
you ever do that whenever you're working on pieces and if it's a movie or something like that, it's like you're totally hearing the song in your head?
Yes. Or you're like quotes are going through your head, or
Yeah.
if there's a if there's a character, like if I was doing when I painted Dr. Jones, all the Sean Connery quotes from Indiana Jones were going through my head. I was just like, yes,
by Bellamy.
birds in the sky. Let my armies be the rocks in the ground and the birds in the sky.
You're sure the best.
See, it's already happened.
That's right. Math and puppets.
Matea says, "Hi guys, this is exciting. Thank you, thank you." All right, so we're gonna try to get our pencils down, and then kind of do a quick review, and we can rip each other apart.
Yeah, let's do it. The episode where Tony and Dan,
What happened? We
Did
thought.
they were so cool together.
when did it happen? Well, it's when
This one episode.
He's
We
one
had a
episode, and
horrible
he started insulting my grandmother.
Again. Makes you eat so much.
small announcement that's going to be coming out today. I was going to be doing my first sponsored stream on Twitch tomorrow with World of Warships, but unfortunately, due to some last-minute scheduling craziness, that's been moved until the middle of February. I'll still be streaming tomorrow on Twitch during the same time, just because, you know, it was kind of advertised that way, but it won't be a sponsor stream with additional support and everything else. So
how's everything going with that?
it's been a learning experience, you know, like found out that I'm sort of their guinea pig as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working with their European branch.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, they're digging it and liking it, and they're excited for it. And you know, trying to figure out numbers is weird, you know, because they're like, oh, hey, we're using your. I gave them a number for using my art for their landing page and stuff like that, and then they came back like, hey, we also want to make some T-shirts out of it. Like, what do you charge for that? I'm like, oh, okay. Let me figure that out. Like, what do I charge for that? It's the same piece of art. It's just, you know, it's, you know, corporate. So you charge for every use. Rights, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that just, you know, that's like a raise. And then I'll be talking with their North American team, and there's a convention they're doing on a boat, on a carrier or something like that I might.
That's different.
I might do. Yeah, very different. So yeah, it's just been cool learning experience. Like, how often is it too much saying that it's sponsored by them? You know, what do they expect from it and everything else, right? Because it's a different sort of exchange.
Yeah.
You know, it's as much of my social
little
media,
tricky,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm a little old school, so I don't know how to fully gauge that value 100%.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's like thinking, I don't know, thinking very corporate as opposed to.
Yeah. Well, it's also I've had a lot of friends, you know, you and a lot of Magic the Gathering artists or other things, people that I can go to for like, hey, this company asked me to do this. What is what should I be charging? You know, what's a decent rate and so on and so forth. But there's very few people I can go to and be like, hey, they want to sponsor me and offer me this. What should I charge them per post? Yeah. And you're like, do I scare them away? Do I, you know? Because.
But they're asking for more.
But they're asking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing. It's just learning and, you know. Adapting, right?
Did you see that post by I know you did, actually. I saw you commented on it too, by Richard Pace, that thing about AI.
Oh yeah, I thought that was actually something I was thinking about.
I was like, wow, that writer's such a dick.
Yeah.
It's like, how is this guy working? Like, he's a complete asshat.
But it makes sense if you take into account like how some people view art, right?
No, I'm fully aware that. Yeah. Oh no, I get it.
Yeah.
He's no less wrong. I mean,
right.
He's completely out of his freaking mind. But
no, for sure. And also he sort of embodied the generic critique of a critic, like, oh, you just criticize because you can't do it. So you're
Yep.
criticizing
Exactly.
because it allows
It
you
was
some way to
exactly.
feel a part of this world that you couldn't be a
Yeah.
part of otherwise.
Exactly. That was his
Right?
argument. His
Right?
argument.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, let me get this straight. Just I was like, because we have talent, we feel like we're privileged,
Right.
and that's your argument. And I was
Be-
like, and number one, I was like, the thing that we literally say almost religiously is that
is
there
you
is
don't,
no
no
such.
talent, right?
Like,
Yeah.
I hate it when people use that word.
Oh, me too.
Personally,
It's one of my pet peeves, right? When someone comes
I
out
mean,
and goes like, "Oh, you're
it counts that you did any work.
yeah,
Like it was just, oh, we were given something. I
right."
see.
Oh,
I
the
see.
it doubly like makes me cringe and like and die inside when they invoke
Yep.
a higher power that has blessed me with something. I'm just like, oh, you're giving all my hard work to someone else now. Thanks.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, that's awesome." I was like, I didn't realize that I owed him, like,
Yeah.
specifically for this thing in particular.
Right.
I'm pretty sure no hand in.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's the part where I'm just like, oh, I've learned for the most
just
part just be like, thank you, I appreciate it, but
yeah, my only the thing that drives me absolutely nuts is when that's yeah. Anyhow,
yeah,
I
there's
I get that.
no, I hear you. I'm right there with you, and
Yeah.
and if you think that it's just a granted or lottery ticket, I could understand the, you know, the perspective that they take is like, oh, okay, so I can have a lottery ticket too, see? And but it isn't.
Exactly
That's the
what.
thing. It's not the reality.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that guy. I just, the whole time I'm reading it, I'm just like, that guy's out of his mind. Like, just out of his.
No, it is. It's
I was
crazy.
just amazed that like a major site gave that guy a soapbox. Like that's the thing that blew me. I was like, someone valued this guy's opinion, and then I looked over at his Twitter, and he's being evicted currently. Um,
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, that's sad. All good things to those who. It's just like I don't want to be mad at someone. I don't want to be like dissing anybody getting kicked out of their home, but
Right.
I kind of feel like karma just reared its ugly head. I mean, it's like who literally says, "Let's pick a group to attack." I know, privileged artists.
Yes, because
First off, isn't that
artists
how
are
it's
so
run?
privileged, right?
I don't know a lot of artists that are like super wealthy and doing like crazy mad cash. Like I just don't. I mean, anyhow, uh, you don't think of artists as being like wealthy
Yeah.
superpower. What the? Hold on one second.
What?
Oh, that sucks.
What'd you do?
Nothing. I didn't do anything. I'm looking out my backyard window, and it looks like we had a tree that fell last night. Um, I get to saw things later.
Oh, really?
So,
Sounds like so much fun.
yeah, I have a different word for it, but that works. We'll go with fun. We'll go with fun. Yeah,
Fun.
yeah, fun. That's the word. How close are you?
To finishing penciling.
Yep.
I'm trying to. I was trying to find some references for some of the arm and the tendrils, but I feel like I can either spend the time or just make it up, and it'll be close enough because no one's gonna know. But close. How about you?
Real close. Um,
Are you just gonna do Vecna's eyes mysteriously floating in the sky?
uh, I am going to make the entire face kind of silhouetted here, and then there'll be lightning kind of coming down over here. It's going to be like there's a lot of it's very montagey movie poster sort of look is what I'm going for. The hard part's going to be making sure that the eyes don't look all wonky. The only thing that is actually that actor, you know?
Yeah. And he has so much makeup on, so you almost
I know it's over the top.
yeah. It's not a
I'm looking at the
likeness thing.
like Nikes. Yeah. Yeah, he literally has like pieces of things hanging in front of his eyes too.
Yeah.
Hey, cat, can you go somewhere else? She's like literally scratching at my door. She hears your voice.
Oh, fetch cat.
I know, right? I might just do one side of the face.
Yeah. Pulling out every trick now, aren't you?
I really am. It's like, that's really cool. The likeness is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's see. What was that girl's name? Stranger. I'm just gonna say
Are you talking about 11?
no. The one that was floating in the air.
Not Miley Bobby Brown, but
Max. Max. That's her name. Max.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oops. Stranger Things. Max.
You gonna do like broken arm Max?
No, that might be a little bit too much.
Yeah, but your authenticity will be amazing. Yeah. So what are some really good peer reviews that you've had in the past, or let's call them critiques?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
basically, like, what's all right? Before we get there, what's
Yeah.
the difference between a peer review and a critique in your mind?
and I
And
think
is
so. I think a critique is usually a little bit more comprehensive, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out how to, of the pieces or the piece that you're showing, what is,
Yeah.
how do you move forward as an artist? And generally, it was for me something like a peer review is like, hey, here's a piece that I'm working on. What do you guys think? How can I make it stronger? Let's add a few extra minds to this piece, right?
Yeah.
It's
help me help you type thing?
yeah. Let's focus on, hey, I have to do a cover for this title. Here are some concepts I'm doing, like I'm drawing this or I'm painting this. I think peer reviews are generally a little bit more, for me, I would equate it more to like people who have more of a process that they can change or alter along the way.
Yeah.
So like a lot of, I see it with a lot of, oil painters that I know that are in groups and chat. They'll post up a piece that's halfway done, right? And people can be like, oh, hey, that's really cool. You should really punch this out. Or, oh, hey, careful of that. That background element is going to be confusing with the angle of that elbow, right? That's in my mind the difference between that. Like when you and I are at a show and we show each other like halfway through, and you're like, oh yeah, that I think you know, that wing is a little weird, or that hand is a little weird, like helping you see things that you may not see or you might have missed, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I really like that. You should do more feathers like that, or you know, add more tentacles like that, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you?
I tend to agree. I think for the most part, that's the big difference is of one's more comprehensive than the other. I think that I don't know. I almost feel like the jury is like when you get comments back from like a jury show or something
Yeah.
like that. I feel like that feels like a peer review. Because a lot of their comments aren't really, it's not a full portfolio critique or anything like that, but it's really commenting on just the pieces that were shown.
Yeah.
And it usually doesn't have like, it doesn't encapsulate your body of work. It's just their comments on your style, their comments on how, you know, how pieces could be improved, you know?
Right.
At least the few that I've gotten back, that tends to be what it is. The thing that frustrates me about, so for those that don't know, I did not get into Gen Con this year.
Neither did I.
Neither did a lot of
Congratulations
people,
to everyone who else who did. We love you.
Anybody
all.
who got into that.
You're awesome.
We love you. I want to kill you all, but I mean that in jest. But seriously, that was evidently like one of the hardest ones to get into. Thing is how half of the magic artists didn't even get in.
Yeah. I find that part pretty crazy.
That kind of says something right there.
Yeah.
Just how tough that particular convention is. So what they used to do at that during that process is they would give you comments. So when you went back into your profile, you would actually see comments from the reviewers. And they seem to have gone away with that, or done away with that over the last 2 times. I haven't checked, but I didn't get a notification about that in my submittal.
Yeah, I didn't get anything about that either.
Have you been on your into profile though on the site?
Oh no, I haven't actually.
So I haven't either, but and maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree. Maybe they actually put them in there and they just didn't notify anybody. But
yeah,
that was one of the nice things is that they actually told you why they thought yours didn't work this year, which was kind of cool. Basically a way for you to improve, which is I think the
right.
big thing. That's the big difference in my opinion to a critique. Critiques, I feel like, comment mostly on primarily on faults. They do offer room for improvement and comment on how this would be better,
right? But
they really focus on improvement.
You think critique does the opposite, focuses more on the negative?
Critique is primarily on the negative. And that's the big difference, in my opinion, to a peer review. I'm not saying that that's the way it should be. I'm saying that's the way it tends to be.
You're looking for things that are wrong versus you're looking for how to improve.
It's like when you submit something for a review to a like an editor. 9 times out of 10, they're going to find something wrong.
Right. Right. Because you're looking for something wrong.
Like their job is technically to approve or unapprove or disapprove of work, and they will help shape and make something better. If they find something that you intrinsically have done that doesn't work, they tend to focus on that and tell you what needs to be altered. I feel like 9 times out of 10, they're gonna like. I've worked with a lot of editors over the years. You have some editors that that are so good at what they've been around for so long that they know what works and what doesn't immediately, and they know what is awesome and is great as is. They won't comment if they see
Mhm.
something that looks great. They don't have any sort of issues with it. They'll just
Yeah.
be like, yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
And then you have like new editors, and what they tend to do is
They try to prove their
feel
worth.
yeah, they feel validation by finding fault.
Mhm.
And that's always the one thing that you're just like, seriously? It's like, just because you have to find something wrong, you found something that you think is wrong. And it's always interesting whenever I have, high profile stuff. They tend to go through a lot of editors. Um, have you ever had any nightmare critiques or reviews?
Um, I guess the most memorable review, right, is usually the worst ones that 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 border on the traumatic, right?
Oh yeah. It's like, when it goes up, just I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm out, I'm out.
Am I even an artist? Like,
Yeah.
holy
Who
cow!
am
I thought it was clicking.
Yeah, I think that
I mean, so the story for me there, and I've found out since that I'm not the only one, so I don't feel as special anymore. Which I don't know if it makes it better or worse. Is and I think you know where this is going. It's Eric Larson of the Savage Dragon.
one. We have the same one. That's right. We talked about this. That's right. I forgot. I was like,
You
this
forgot?
is
Oh, I'm gonna bring up
I was like,
all your past trauma.
trauma. I know. It probably blocked it. Yeah, man. Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever want to get your butt handed to you, and to just yeah, go get
Yeah.
a review by that.
Yeah. If you somehow can get a positive review out of him, like
I want to
know that you are
the
that
anomaly.
yeah, you are the anomaly, and somehow and you are in the right path, because
You're
I
in the
remember coming up to him with a portfolio. He was at a show, and waited in a line and just asked him, if he could look it over and what he thought. And this is when I was just doing pen and ink stuff. And there was not a single thing I could do right. I don't think I could draw a line on a piece of paper at that review, and he would be like, what the hell is that line doing there?
Yep.
My anatomy, my hands, my backgrounds, my panel structures, my line weight, my shadows, my lighting, storytelling, posing,
Like, what would
everything.
Why did you even bring something to his presence?
Well, he's at the end of the day, it was like there's he still got chops. I respected him and his artwork and his consistency, right, that he was doing. And at the end of the day, he was a guy that was went off to Image. He's an Image founder, so yeah.
Let me just tell you. You want to know who else is an Image founder? So before you make that the benchmark,
Yeah. Well, that was me at the time, right?
yeah.
I know a little more now.
I was like, dude, bro. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So
I haven't read at all, and I'm sorry if there's an Image founder in the chat.
yeah, I had to question my very existence for weeks after
man.
that.
I experience with him. I really did. Like honestly, I was like, and at that point, I guess I had. The thing is, I didn't think I had much of an ego at all.
No, yeah, I was going in humble. I wasn't going in like, dude, I'm the next, Jim Lee or whatever else, right? I was like, I was expecting some things, help me improve. I was expecting like a shit sandwich, like, yeah, you're doing a couple of things right. Here's a bunch of things that you can improve on, and yeah, the generic.
Got the worst sandwich imagined.
It was.
Mine was definitely one of those like right afterwards. I just kind of like walked back over to my table and sat there and just stared at it for like like I was just like, what the heck just happened? Like, so I'm ready for peer review now.
You're ready for peer review. Your anatomy sucks. Your
Yep, I'm done. No, just because I'm ready to start into watercolor and I want to.
Yeah, sure.
Let's
take a look.
This episode. I gotta hide the videos.
Yeah.
Icon on this.
So in this case, how are you gonna handle all that detail going into that hair and stuff like that? Like, what's the thought? Because that looks potentially confusing with all that detail right in that area.
Totally. So everything in the back is going to be darker. Like you're going to have this is all going to be like washed in, like this side right here is going to be washed in red, and then this is all going to be, you're going to have a shadow line here. I've actually given this a lot of thought, trying to figure out exactly where to put his eyes, because technically speaking, they should be moved over here so that it's more centered on the paper. But because I want to put a lightning bolt that's going to kind of coil down right where his eye is, and then come down here, the lightning bolt is going to add halo lighting.
Okay, so you're going to do a rim light?
It just right around the edge from the lightning, and then it's going to fade out to this darker background. So this light that you're going to see on this side is going to be red, is the highlight, and then it's going to be much darker here,
right?
So that you get that rim lighting,
right?
This part over here,
is he going to be a different color? Is he going to be like blues then?
He's going to be it's going to be like a blue and red piece.
Right.
Purple, blue, red. Yeah.
Right.
It's going to wash up to red. He's going to have red highlights from the lightning. I looked up the imagery that I could find, and just to sort of the, this is like a screen cap from it. So red.
Okay, I see.
There was like red bursts that happened in the background, and then the cityscape is going to be, you've got Vecna. That's just washed in red. All the scenes with him were just like, totally.
Yeah.
But the red lightning was a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll probably put some remnants in the background to make it so that the dark area doesn't just go dark. I'll probably put like a little bit of the cityscape in the background that you can see.
I can't. It could be because it's small. Where's Vecna's mouth?
It's behind him. Yeah,
it's complete. Okay.
Yeah,
is that gonna be weird at all? Do you think? Like,
I thought about it at first, and I thought if I pushed him further over, like I kind of went back and forth on it. Like at one point, I was gonna just push him back over. I feel like his eyes were the only thing that was terribly important, because I really wanted this more to be, even though it's signed by him.
Yeah.
I wanted this more to be an Eddie Munson piece. I actually have. There's a good chance that Eddie's going to be, that the actor will be able to sign this at the next con we go to. So
you're thinking
it'll
ahead
probably
of business.
You're right here. I'm sorry. What was that?
You're thinking on. You're marketing this piece already.
Well, you know how it is.
Yeah, I know how it is.
It's neat. Have you checked out chat at all? I haven't really looked at
Yeah. It's been. They're just watching.
it. Okay.
Matea says, Dan, yours looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And we have Emmy on Twitch watching.
Now I'm trying to see yours, but yours very faint.
Yeah, mine is very faint also because I recently erased it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I really like her and her like hovering pose, that you
Yeah.
have going on. Are you doing it's a sideways shot, right?
Yeah, it's like a
Almost-
3/4
almost-
sideways shot, right? So, and so I just made it even harder for myself just because of the angle for it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 3/4 sideways shot, and I
You're
just
gonna
couldn't
do
get the face.
Top down like
Top down, a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna be a top down. It's gonna be there. We're gonna have that clock tower, wasn't it? I should probably
Oh,
look
right.
it up. Like that building that they were in, that home. Wasn't
Right.
it like a clock tower of some sort?
I don't remember that actually.
Vecna house.
I haven't seen it recently. I saw it when it first came out, and then that was, I watched the season and I was done.
Yeah. Stranger Things upside down house tower.
I thought it was actually just like an old home.
That's what I thought too. But it had like a little tower element to it. It was like.
Hmm.
Oh. Yeah. Regardless, it'll be like a little.
That peak there.
Yeah, a little silhouette and rubble and stuff like that. I don't know.
And then Maine, you're gonna have Vecna. Kind of like
Yeah, Main will be Vecna and stuff like that. I just having trouble with the angle right now. Sometimes I hit the drawing off and it feels right away, and sometimes I struggle with it. And I guess this morning is one of my struggles.
Well, it's one of those things where, and you want to find a way to like fix all the things before you even start. Like you always want to figure out that like, okay, that's gonna be just horrible. I don't know what I was doing there.
Yeah.
You want to do that as early as possible. Anytime you go too far down that road, you can like turn it into like total garbage just because you didn't figure that stuff out ahead of time.
Yeah.
I've scrapped a piece. I mean, I have entire pieces sitting over here that I just looked at. So if you look
Yeah.
at my timeline, a Batman Mr. Freeze, and I went back and forth on that piece like a dozen times. This was one that I kind of sketched out, and I was like, yeah, I'll do this. And it's like, man, nobody wants that. Nobody wants like the back of Batman.
Right.
So then I like flip it over, and I was like, no, let's do front Batman. So then I did this one, and I was like, yeah, I'll do this where he's like, and that one didn't work. It didn't have any punch. It was like the city in the background, and I was like, this is so hard. Like, making
Right.
that dynamic. Anytime people want that fighting shot where two characters
the fighting shots or poses are so tough.
gosh, one person's always going to be like the guy that you're seeing the back of,
Right.
or they're both sideways. They're both side views.
Yeah.
Like there's not a point in a fight where the person isn't facing the person.
Yeah. Or you have that classic, we both punch each other at the same time, and one of you is right-handed and the other person's left-handed.
Basically, the fight scene that nobody actually has in a fight.
Right. Exactly.
It's like if you've ever been in a fight.
That's why those
What are
fight
you
scenes
doing?
are. That's where sequential art comes into play. That's why I think like when people are like, "Oh yeah, I would love to have these two battles." You're thinking sequential. You're asking me to do a pinup, or you're asking me to do a single image. But what you're seeing in your head is a movie.
It's like cool. However, that will never work.
Okay, I think I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
I keep trying to do it. I keep on trying to do an upshot of Vecna, and I think I just need to make him look down.
Ah.
I was trying to do a menacing upshot at him, and I think without. I think I need those shadows or a better reference for that.
Ah.
He reminds me. The character reminds me of the Game of Thrones, the Lich King, or what is it?
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I just want to draw a crown on him.
Yeah. The. Why can't I think of that? The
Right? The White
Seriously,
Walker,
what was his
the
name?
king, the White Walker
That-
king.
I seriously can't remember what they called him. Everybody wanted to just totally forget that series after.
Yeah, yeah, and we actually did.
Mission accomplished, George R. R. Martin.
It was those two guys. They ruined it.
Yeah, he had a lot of say in that.
Hmm?
He had a lot of say in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Get some tentacles in here. There you go. Get the high neck.
I'm totally making this up as I go.
Oh, you're live on YouTube too. Do you guys prefer YouTube or Twitch? I
I prefer YouTube, obviously, because I'm not on
for,
Twitch,
for
but-
they're different reasons. I think we get more random Twitch viewers, whereas we don't
Yeah.
get any random YouTube viewers when we stream. However,
That's true.
afterwards, the potential to get some random viewing of the entire stream that happens, so people can come back and,
Yeah.
so many people will respond a day or two later, or some of our friends will like actually send like, "Oh, we like that was funny when you said that." I'm like, "Okay, cool," and people can see that on YouTube, right? They're not going to go on Twitch and search for it. But on Twitch, we've had raids, right, and stuff like that. So you get just a bunch of random people that join. So I think two,
Both?
yeah, both, two
I mean,
different.
yeah, it's like
Two different. How are you doing, Emmy?
when is the next season of this come out?
Huh?
I feel like this came out a while back, but I guess it hasn't.
Yeah, it came out last fall, like late September or early September or something around there, around September.
See, we're all blessed like way too much with TV these days. Like TV is so good right now that yeah,
There's so many things to.
I know. Kind of sad. It's
What
like everything else.
what's one of the episodes that you're really looking forward to? Like on a
One of the
weekly
episodes?
basis, or show or whatever. Because the thing is, like nowadays, sometimes they're releasing it ongoing. Like, oh, one episode a week, one episode a week. Like we're not just going to dump them all out there for you.
watch anything that way ever.
No.
Although, well, yeah, I'm so into audiobooks right now that I can't even say because I wouldn't know. I'm really bad about
Yeah.
these days, at least. I'm
Should-
just too. My work life is
Yeah.
so focused on books, so
Should we do an audiobook review on discussion on one of these? Like we
Dude,
both listen to them. I'll listen to one, and
Yeah.
you listen to one, and
Oh,
then
I'm down.
we'll talk to it. You know, like little, and people can also join that way.
The book series that I'm currently listening to, when I'm not listening to one for work, like stuff that's actually for the Naomi Novik stuff. The current one that I'm doing, aside from those, is so. Anytime that I'm working on a piece in particular, I will listen to that section of a book like religious. Like I'll just keep it
just
on.
over and over.
Yeah, just so I don't miss any details.
Yeah,
Time of day.
I do that with World War II ones, so don't worry. I'm,
Yeah.
if you,
Well, there's
I'm sure it would
miss.
annoy like so many
Yeah.
people.
So yeah, there's like so many things. If you miss it, you're just like, oh, I'm in so much trouble. Because I'll never hear the end of it from all the people who read these books religiously.
Right,
And I totally want to do it justice,
right.
So yeah, anytime I'm not doing that, there's this series that I'm listening to that's sci-fi, and it's just so, I mean, it's so out there. It's called Expeditionary Force is the name of the like, I guess the overarching series, and it's sort of like
What is it called?
Expeditionary Force. I guess the best way to describe it would be take
Black Ops Expeditionary Force.
yeah, but the first one I think is just called Expeditionary Force. It's the very first, whatever the first book,
Okay.
book one, of, like 9 or whatever. The first one in particular is like, it's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy meets as like a love child with oh my gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. Like colonial marines and Starship Troopers, and it's like that kind of stuff all melded together. But overarching is like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I turned Kit onto it. She was like, I just was giving her the brief synopsis because I came in laughing my head off, and she was like, "What are you listening to?"
You kind of have me at Hitchhiker's Guide. That's one of my favorite series.
There's nothing like that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah.
like nothing like that. This is the closest thing that I've found so far, and it's so good. And the audio version is really funny because the voices are hilarious. I don't want to give anything away because it's worth checking out.
Okay, all right. So, if you're, I put a link to it. How far are you into that?
I'm on the last book already.
Oh, you're on the last book. Oh, okay. Come
At
on.
least the last book that they've done, they're actually pretty. Like the guy has been really prolific
All right.
in writing them. So, and you can totally tell that like he was a huge Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fan.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he doesn't. There's no ripoffs or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, there's just the themes and everything. There's no way he's not. One of the characters is an AI.
Of course.
And instantly like, dude. You know, the stuff he says, it comes out of his mouth. You're just like, what? The AI is literally the most sarcastic, crazy, like absolutely nutty like character in the whole book, and gets everyone into the most trouble. It would be one of those series that like I would probably track down the author and talk to them about adapting it.
Yeah.
Because it's got legs, you know. You could totally see it becoming so many more things, you know.
Mm. So we got another question from Emmy.
Oh, hey.
Who's busy in a good way? Do you guys ever get burnt out from the arts or the shows or both?
I get burned out from. I don't get burned out from art ever. I had one period recently when I wouldn't call it I got burned out, but I was like horribly overworked. I definitely like bit off way more than I could chew, and everything I did felt. Art never feels like work to me, and this was the first time in my life that it actually felt like work.
How recent was this?
This was like 6 months ago, maybe. It was right after. Honestly, it was right after, or just before. I can't remember if it was just before or right after. No, it was just before I left for
Africa?
Africa. Yeah, I was at a point where I was like, I really needed to go. Like, honestly, it was probably the best trip for me from a. That's why whenever we were on the trip, you know how it took me so long to actually start drawing on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how, for me, that's like,
Yeah.
what? I like, it took me a while to even think about wanting to draw on that trip. I'd done a whole lot of work. And
Yeah, I remember on the flight there, you were like, okay, let's draw on the flight there. It's like 16 hours
couldn't do
there.
it.
And we didn't do anything.
I was surrounded by you guys, and I was like fired up to do it, and I couldn't get it. Like, my brain was just so burned out, and yeah, I mean, I hit it wasn't even like a creative wall. It was just like, and I guess that's the closest thing I've ever come to that.
Yeah.
And it was more that my brain was recognizing that I needed to take a break. I had done too much, committed too much. Yep.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
You don't know.
Do you ever get burned out?
So I will say, near the end of last year, from all the shows I had done, like
Shows would.
so there's a normal, like there's a little bit of a refractory period, right? In general, when you do a show or two in a row, right?
There's only one person I've ever met that does more shows than you, ever. Do you realize that? And I meet a lot of people in comics and art. There's only one person ever that I've met.
Damn it! Okay, I gotta beat him. Who is it?
No. You won't even come close. You don't understand. You literally can't come close to beating them. They do 2 shows in the same weekend sometimes.
Oh, is it a couple?
Yeah. So what they'll do is there's only one artist, but their other half will literally go and sell their prints at another show.
Is this me? Is this Michael?
No.
Okay.
Megan Withby.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know who she is. She does Disney stuff.
Yeah.
And she's really good, really really good. And she's another watercolor and
Yeah.
mixed media art, and she's yeah. I just remember thinking, like, I was talking to her at a con, and I was just like, this is a weird show for you to do, right? And she's like, nah, we do this, any of the shows in Florida we do. And I was like, seriously? She's like, yeah, we live here, so we do all the shows. I was like, okay. It was like, all the shows? That's a little, right. I'm thinking, nah, that's impossible. She's like, no, my husband's at the other one right now, this weekend. I was like, holy moly, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, there's another same thing, and I was talking to both of them, but they were, I think they did something like, I was like, oh, how many shows did you do this year? I was like, oh, I did 23, and that's a lot, and everything else. And she was like, yeah, we did like 70. I'm like, what?
They're like, cool, 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 cool,
I was
cool.
like, uh?
Like, who does that? Who does that? Like
But
70?
yeah,
Oh my god!
or
I
like
can't
60
imagine.
something, in my head it was pretty close. It was like, they're like, yeah,
I would lose my.
we just spread out and did like any show we could find. We're gonna cut back. I'm like, thank God. But
And that's like so far beyond
I
like
know,
anything I could even
I
comprehend.
know.
Like,
But again, it was the same thing. They were doing same two shows at the same weekend and
yeah,
traveling, so it was, you know,
yeah.
it's like every weekend.
I mean, I totally am full. I am really into the whole work hard, play hard mentality.
Yeah.
I'm big fan of that. But man, I mean, when you have children, like
Yeah.
they have children too.
Oh my
Then they
God.
blew me away. Like, how on earth? Like, how? And my hat's off. Like, I'm just like, how you guys make that happen is amazing.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Emmy says, "Man, I did 20 last year and I'm dead. I'm still recovering. I only booked 12 this year because I can't anymore. I'm hoping
I
to cool down a little bit this year, but we'll see."
yeah, I
Uh,
learned my lesson
yeah.
2 years, 4 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
Like I was doing the most that I was ever doing, and I have another half who basically just like put her foot down and said, "Look, you got to cut back. Like, no offense, but it takes two to raise a kid, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, like, it puts a lot of strain on everyone. You know,
Yeah.
I I cranked back my
Oh,
cons like
oh, I
just
know you
right.
did. You were in
Um,
single digits.
yep, I was like, you know what? I'll go from 15 to I think I went to 10 from 15, and then I
Yeah.
went from 10 to like 8.
Hmm.
Lowest that I ever did was last year, and that's only just because I had other work that demanded me to be here. We had that big con that took us out of country, and
Yeah.
I had to make some sessions for that. Um,
Yeah. So at
so
the
yeah,
after, so normally when you do a convention, like if you really have to
yeah,
get to work right away, you can like do it. Like you finish convention, if you got to do some work Monday morning, you can do it. But
yeah,
if you have several conventions in a row or something like that, like there's a refractory period to it. It's like, okay, sometimes you take a day to yourself, maybe 2 days, um, whatever else. That refractory period started getting a little bit longer.
yeah,
I come back, especially the international stuff. Come back from London, and I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
I was just exhausted.
yeah,
Just the mental fatigue and stuff like that. So uh,
yeah, man.
definitely took a couple days of just like mental, play some video games or some shit like that. Just like, okay. But in general, it was still like at the end of the refractory period, I was still like, okay, let me get back into some of the art, and I did miss it. It was just
Yeah.
it was just a malaise, if you will, that was just happened from the shows, not the art. I think is what it was.
The shows is what would need now, just because I think COVID taught a whole lot of artists how they could make money without having to go to shows.
Yeah.
And it was funny because there were like a group of artists who figured that out, and then there
Hmm.
was a whole section that just literally got out of art because they couldn't figure that out.
Hmm.
Um,
All right, Dan.
and it
This
was
is
like,
this is my review. I don't know if you can kind of see. Hold up at a little bit of an angle.
okay, hold on.
Let me turn the light away a little bit.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't. Let's see. Man, dripped into his eye.
I guess if I hold it at a little bit of an angle, you can see it's There's going to be some stairs kind of coming through that curves around, just nice, simple. That kind of
Oh, that's
connect
good.
into
You
it.
get
The upside down had a lot of like
golden
interesting
ring. Yeah.
broken architecture stuff. So we'll do that, whether this is a gate or a window or a doorway or something. I don't know. But we'll have
Yeah.
her there floating. She needs a little bit of a jacket on her, and then just the tentacles coming from his back and down here. Just pretty straightforward,
Good.
but
Very good.
yeah.
Are you gonna do some sort of blue light, or what are your color schemes gonna be?
Yeah, we got to get some red on him, but like going into purple as we get lower on this.
Okay.
But the thing is, like the upside down is also, so I might have to do a rim light, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's hard because like that world, the
Yeah.
entire landscape.
yeah, that is
Possible.
this.
Like, and it's impossible to do it and not and to sell it as the
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
So
So I guess what I should do is maybe do him mostly in like a bluish shadow, a bluish purple shadow for most of him,
Yeah.
like a central shadow, and then fade that out quickly into a red and then into like a very light rim light, and then push the orange and yellow, the warmer colors and tones of red, into the background, and like have some big bright like specular like lights coming from the clouds in the background or something like that. So he would be more of the cooler spectrum of reds and purples, and then push
Yeah.
the darker or the warmer oranges and warmer reds and scarlets into that.
nice.
Maybe that's
The direction to go in.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, lightning is probably going to have to play a little bit to help pop out the silhouette and things like that too.
Yeah. Lightning's a tough one because it's like on one hand it kind of dictates that you have some sort of an element either in front or behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it becomes the dominant light source,
Yeah,
and
I-
it's like
I
it
think
needs to
I'll,
inform.
I think I would have to play with like faint lightning, right? Like background lightning instead of like
Right.
foreground lightning. So
Yeah,
um,
I like it. I kind of want to see you do more detail on Vecna on
yeah,
the darkened side in the front that
yeah,
you're just into. Are you
Yeah.
gonna keep that? Like I've seen you literally do watercolor on pieces at this stage and start
Yep.
into watercolor.
yep,
And one of the things that when you do that, they feel less tight,
mhm.
and then you tighten towards the very end in watercolor,
Yeah.
as opposed to doing it in pencil.
Right. That's
Are you gonna-
kind of what I was thinking, because I mean, the thing with like Vecna that makes it forgiving, right, is
Yeah.
that you're just there's
It's
just
Swiss cheese.
there's Swiss cheese. There's I don't have to be exact about his armor or his
Yeah.
costume. It's just so
Yeah, I was looking at his outfit or whatever, his bodyscape, let's call it. And I was like, so basically they kept him basically human from like his before his navel
Yeah.
up to like his collarbone, and then everything else is basically just like leggings, pants. I
Right.
mean, they just so that it's like just over top of flesh as opposed to his like musculature and everything.
yeah.
And they did that horrible thing to his genitalia. You just like
Yeah.
it was like still there and it's just hidden. Like what's going on there?
Right. It is. They were just not going to film down there.
Yeah. Well, they did.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like okay, Netflix clearly had an edict.
Right.
You can do this. You can't do that. So here's my other question: the signature.
Yes.
Are you gonna paint? Like, how do you like? Are you gonna paint over the signature?
No, I'm gonna leave he's just gonna have this arm. I have to actually figure out the arm a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna paint over it because he did it in gold. I'm just not gonna paint
Yeah.
it dark, right? There's gonna be some color
Uh,
and some texture behind it, but it's not gonna be. Luckily, it's that he didn't use like a ballpoint pen or something. He actually
I
used
know.
like a gold pen, which is you can paint over.
Yep.
So we have Matea that asks, and then we have another question from Emmy as well. Mateus asks, Tony, are all the cons worth it? And Dan, was all the contract work worth it last year?
Uh,
You want to go
that's
first,
a really.
or do you want me to go
Um,
first?
you go first. Go
All right.
first.
What? So, I think in many industries, right, one of the things they say is like networking. Networking
Yeah.
is a thing.
Oh, and you went out way big time
Yeah.
over the last year.
Yeah, and I think yeah, you never know what's going to happen, right? It's conventions are a very passive networking thing, but you have to be there in order to get those some opportunities because they're not going to
Yeah.
they're not going to appear in any other way
Yep.
in what we do. So on that level, like if I could pick and be like, oh, I need to be at this show. Some of the busiest shows, nothing happens as far as networking goes because you're so busy. Like my sponsorship, the conversation started in Africa, right? At Comic Con Africa, the marketing guy happened to walk by, saw my booth, and was like, "Oh, we do a World War II kind of a video game, and you're doing a World War II thing. Hey, maybe there's something here. Let's chat a little bit more." And we did, and it took several months, and then we finally figured out that okay, it's interesting enough, and let's do it. So something like that, I if I if I didn't do conventions, it would have been very
That
hard to manifest.
that would have almost never materialized.
That would
Yeah.
have never materialized in a million years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, was it worth doing 23 of them to get there?
I'm glad you said that because I was going to mention that. I was like,
Right? Was it worth it to do 20?
yeah.
17 shows with minimal networking and 5 or 6 shows that had some good networking come out of it.
Yeah.
That's debatable. I definitely could have been smarter about the conventions that I did. So I'll leave it there.
In terms of the
Contract
project
work?
stuff, I would say yes, just because when I say worth it, I mean, so the struggle between that a lot of artists go through is whether to do commissions and fan art and whether to do your own work. I
Yeah.
mean, this is just that when you get to a certain level, you start asking yourself a lot of these questions. Like, do I want to just do fan art? Do I want to do this? Do I want to just keep it open to everything? Some of it actually precludes the other half. In other words, if you do too much fan art, you're probably not going to get project work
Right.
because the fan art turns off publishers and it turns off it paints you in a certain light as being someone who doesn't do official work, and it also means that you encroach on licenses, which means that you're not actually paying attention to legalities and things like that. There's just a whole loaded it's a loaded gun to. So on one hand, I'm very glad that I did a ton of project work last year. Yes. I do regret that I cut so many conventions out. There were 2 conventions that really hurt me not doing last year. The DC one, believe it or not, was a painful one for me because mostly family standpoint, I didn't get to see
Right.
my family. Like the entire last year, my family up north didn't see me unless they came down.
Right.
And thankfully they did at one point because I was like, my mother and stepfather traveled down here, and if they hadn't, I would not have actually seen them the entire year. Because I had to cancel the DC convention, not from a work standpoint, but from I had COVID at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The other con that really hurt was New York. That one, from a monetary and professional standpoint, you make more connections there, and you more money there at the con
Mm-hmm.
than any other convention. Missing that one is legitimately painful. From a professional standpoint, the projects that I worked on were all bucket list stuff. So I have no qualms at all about working on them. They're all ridiculously fun. Every one of them I said yes to without even thinking, about all the things I would have to cut out. It was just one of those, like, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. If I don't do that, I'm going to kick myself.
Right.
Tuskers, the book project that, I was the illustrator on, that's another one. It as soon as I saw the script, I was like, yeah, I can't not do this. I would kill myself if I turn this down.
And let it pass.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that when you read it or see it or look at it that you can't miss that. I mean, and it's not because there's it's not necessarily the sex appeal of the property or anything like that. It's more you just it's what you need to be working on and what you need to be doing.
Right. No, for sure.
I mean, who said no to Star Wars?
Right.
I mean, who says no to, there are certain things that you don't say no to that. Who says no to, and like the Naomi Novik stuff that I'm working on now, like I lobbied to work on that for 10 years.
I didn't know it was that long.
Oh yeah. Like the author and I have been friendly back and forth and had brunch and all sorts of stuff many years before this ever happened.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and this goes hand in hand with what Tony was saying about nurturing relationships. Like you never know when something is going to transition into something else, and become something that's much bigger.
Right.
You want to keep those relationships going, and you can't really do that if you're sitting at home. I mean, you can, but it doesn't have the same impact as being in front of someone.
Yeah, it's definitely not as memorable.
There's this thing that a lot of anyone in corporate world knows what FaceTime is, and it's actually where the whole the name came from for the app and everything else. But FaceTime means being in front of somebody, talking to someone face to face.
Yeah, even if it's not directly related to business, right? You're establishing some amount of relationship.
It's a rapport.
Right. Like even if it's like, hey, there's nothing we can work on together right now. They don't have any work for me. I'm busy or whatever else, but let's sit down and grab a beer, right? Let's go and have a chat for a coffee.
Yeah. There is something to be said, and anyone in the business world will tell you this. People talk about how comic books in particular is ripe with nepotism. And yes, it is ripe with nepotism. People like to work with people they know. They want to work with their friends. They want to, keep those relationships going and happy. And you can't have them if you don't make them happen.
Right. And then Emmy asked a question. Did you guys go to school for arts? And that answer is yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask.
Well, so my degree is in imaging and digital art.
Right,
So,
which is
yes,
not watercolor. Yes, you did.
not watercolor. Yeah, I did not go to school for this
Fine
particular
arts.
medium.
Yeah.
My degree has more to do with 3D modeling. I mean, I learned Maya. I learned 3D Studio Max.
I remember
I
that.
learned movie storytelling. I actually did tons of classes in in video editing, and I mean, believe it or not, Tony does most of the video editing on the sub here. He does primarily having to do with that.
Yeah.
I actually
You have more experience with it technically.
I actually have used it for most of my life, but it's also one of those things that I've lost the enchantment of it. Like it's one of those things that I think as soon as something becomes turnkey, it turns me off.
Hmm.
I feel like I know that that's a weird thing, but it's something I got to get past personally. I literally get a little turned off when things become so commonplace and turnkey, and
Yeah.
video quickly become that. I mean, everything is so easy now that, yeah, it's, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's a me.
For me, I did
I
not.
watch. Yeah.
I did not go to. I went to school for science reasons. Um, I started off, and so I started off
Do you
just
you have an undergrad, right?
yeah. I have undergrad and a master's.
Yeah. And what are your degrees in?
My degree is in biological sciences, biology,
Yep.
leaning towards pre-med. And then I have an MBA in marketing and e-commerce.
So if this art thing doesn't work for Tony, he's going to make lots of all of us combined.
I mean, to be fair, before you and I both
Yeah.
started doing art full time, we
Totally.
had some healthy paychecks.
Oh, we both did
Yeah.
ridiculously well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both gave up very big salaries, very big money to do what we loved versus what we knew
Yeah.
made money.
Yeah,
Um,
like yeah, traveling to Africa or wherever, like I'd be able to afford that without having to worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that actually would have no problem at all.
yeah, it would have
In
been like,
fact,
okay, let's do it.
I had actually been invited on multiple safaris prior to this, which is hilarious.
Right.
To think about now that I got there. I got there when I yeah. It blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah. No, it does for me too, and I really enjoyed how we got to experience South Africa and safaris,
Yep.
which would have been completely different than if we had done it, a
Another
more
way.
traditional way, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I did that, and I didn't start into painting until much later in life. I never even, if you told me like that I'd be known for I would have some notoriety about with painting and colors, I would have said you're crazy. I'm like, really? No, not me. I'm just a black and white. I pencil at best. But in the end, I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, I think my degree. I always loved drawing, and I've always done it. If you ask people from my high school, they would be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Of course, he was going to do this."
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because Ian's coming up, and they were talking about, and I was like, "Should I offer to do the invitation for a reunion?" And I was like, "Nah, I have way too much on my plate to do that." Um,
Yeah. That's the funny thing. Like, I mean, I drew a lot in high school, and and everything else. But at the same time, I was never that. I never got any. I never got any of the awards and stuff like that, or I never got. I wasn't known for being in the art classes or whatever else. It was just that I was always doodling.
Yeah.
So,
I was kind of, I mean, I competed in any sort of art competitions in the school. I did all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was the art director of our school newspaper.
mm-hmm.
I did anything having to do with art. I pretty much
Oh, really?
volunteered to do.
that was not me.
I was very much that guy. And my yeah. So it was always one of those. I was always gonna go down that road.
Mm.
I actually have an appointment
Okay.
that I realized I'm coming up close to.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up then. We have one last question for Emmy, if you want to do that, and then take off. Does that sound good?
Yeah. What's up?
All right, Emmy, with her great questions. You should interview us. Do you think people need money savings to start the art full time? Maybe have a day job and art at night for a while?
I think it's super helpful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's necessary, but I think that you have to have a plan more than you have to have income. In other words,
Yes.
a plan is way more important in my opinion. I just had this conversation with somebody.
That's
and-
because I just did too. Someone contacted me and they were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I just got laid off, but I want to
Yeah,
do this."
wow, we must have had a very similar conversation. I was just like, the hardest thing is coming up with an appropriate plan. Like, know what you need to be spending, what you need to be making, figure that out. And that's stuff that like our backgrounds in business kind of helped us out big time with that. Like it was definitely
Yeah.
one of the things that I
Yeah, putting
Very-
together a business plan and like,
Yep. Figuring out how much you need to make on a monthly basis, figuring
Yeah.
out how much you come by, and then saving what you need to save before you make that transition. If you are coming off of a job and you've been laid off, it's a lot harder
Yeah.
because you're going to have that like mentality of I have to, and if you have that mentality, you're not going to.
right.
You might step up from that. Some people do, but that is a lot of pressure. It is really hard to kind of really overcome. It's better if you are, even if it's like a day job. Honestly, doing something like that, transition to, plan in place on making that transition. I worked 2 jobs for a year, 1 full year. I literally had 2 full-time jobs, and it was insane.
Yeah.
It broke me, literally. But at the same time, I was able to afford to buy my house. I was able to afford to make the transition entirely and move as well, which I would have never if it wasn't for both my income from my last job and working another full-time job, establishing connections. So,
Yeah.
and that's all I got time for.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody
Yeah.
for coming. Thought it was a common question, never know the answer, so I was curious what you guys thought. And Ron Shepard says, I have almost the same background in art, graduated from Earl's Art Academy. And Earl was a high school janitor, and he ran an art school out of his van down by the river, which sounds very interesting. I would love to hear more stories about that. But that van down by the river. But anyways, Dan, definitely you got a lot more done than I did. It took me a while to get started in this. But we'll
been
work
there.
on it and see.
We just split positions. Yeah, we've both been there.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for coming by and sticking around, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I will see you later.
Yep. Take care.